I was working on a project, and then, and this happens a lot. Then they pushed me away from the project, even though I was the one that brought the two sides together.
Mm-hmm.
And I was upset because this was a glorious project, and I was the visionary of the project, and I brought the two sides together. And then in one of the videos, they said that I was watching, and I don't do this that often. This is how upset I was. They said, yeah, the universe brought us together. And from my vantage point, I know the role that I played in them coming together, because it was one was in a selfie contest with me, won a selfie contest with me 5 years before I introduced them to the other person. And they were all the way up in LA, and they weren't even in San Diego. They just did a picture with another dude with dreadlocks and said it was in the selfie contest. So, and then I engaged like for long periods of time before this other person showed up. And I knew that they were the type of people that live their lives in the way. And a lot of it may appear that I'm being very egotistical about the role I played, but it was their ego that pushed me away. Yes. And even if they were two of them were able to see each other and be around each other, they wouldn't have known without the introduction. So the universe probably brought them together. They probably walked down the street 10 years before they met me and walked by each other and weren't able to notice that. So it's you can say, like, if you were to say, like, I believe it's all about gratitude and saying, oh, I believe that the universe will help anything that I'm looking for to show up to me. I believe the universe works through me and everything. And then if you like kind of just say, oh, it's just the universe is doing all that stuff, Steve's not doing anything, then you're coming from a place of ego.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Yes.
Because that gratitude and appreciation. So you have to appreciate, not me just saying, oh, I manifested this, I'm so awesome, God's working through me, the universe is working through me, this is just grateful. Yeah, he brought you to me, so you listen to me and bow to me. No, the goal is to get that other person to listen to the universe within them and do their role, opposed to me talking to the universe and telling them exactly how to do that. Because I can't paint. There's a lot of shit I can't do. I rub people the wrong way a lot. So I know, like, a lot of people, like, in my projects, even if sometimes I say, okay, this is what our focus needs to be. Let's not pay attention to this other stuff. People might be more receptive talking to somebody else on a daily basis. That's how it is with my business partner. That's how it is with most people that I'm on projects. Mm-hmm. People are more comfortable talking to them on an everyday basis. Because I'm very sensitive to people lying. I'm very sensitive to people. Like, if you say, oh, this is going to take me a week, and you're lying to me, I'm very sensitive to that. And it just gets frustrating at some point. And I just let it die out. And I've learned to, it's an interesting thing, because as a visionary, we've talked about this before, we lie to a certain extent. We lie until we actually make what we said become true. But then if you're a good visionary, you're continually making more lies, but in the goal of making them become true. Mm-hmm. But there's some visionaries that just lie, and they don't have any intent of it becoming true. There's a story of this lady that was supposed to be the next Bill Gates. I don't know if you've heard about her. She's even wearing turtlenecks, talking a certain way. And she ends up like having this thing that could do a whole bunch of tests, and it was all in this one box and everything. And she raised tons of money and everything. And it ended up not coming together at all. So she was just a liar. Maybe in the beginning, she was moving towards something that was potentially, like, could have happened. but then she got dopamine. She got success by just being a liar.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people can't decipher the difference. Steve Jobs, 100% liar, did some shady stuff at some point, but a lot of his lies became truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
True.
Yeah, you can say it's a lie, you can say it's faith, and
The guy that and a lot of these people, like for what I'm moving towards, I don't think of them as like based on the human condition and everything. But the guy that started Amazon, I mean, we could say a lot of stuff about him. But the fact that in the 90s, when Amazon was just doing books, how he said that Amazon's going to be able to mail a lawnmower to you. And nobody believed that was possible. And then all of a sudden, that's possible at that point. So you kind of got to be a nut and be crazy. And I believe that also where they align, Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Maya Angelou, Joan of Arc. These people are all nuts too.
And also, for every lie, there is a person or a law, or a law is also people that made it up. So it's always there's people that have made you lie. So, and the more pressure there is, the more lies there are. So if you take out all the pressure, there's going to be a lot less lies. So people always make liars responsible for lies, but it's not at all like that. The people that are most offended by the lies are usually the ones that have created them in other people, because they put some kind of pressure onto them, like teachers with exams, or like, which is all, if you really think about it.
I agree and don't agree, because most of people put pressure. People do put pressure on us, but most of that pressure we're putting on ourselves.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So I could think even if people aren't putting any pressure on us, we could still put pressure on ourselves.
But this,
and what you're talking about
on ourselves, that didn't it come from people in the first place? At some point, somebody put pressure on us, and that's where it came from.
Well, are we talking about? Are we talking about our authority puts pressure on us?
No, not necessarily. I'm talking more about, authority as in parents, first parents, but then I thought about it, and I thought about my ex is now 9-year-old, and how much pressure he puts on himself to be great. He wants to be the fastest. He wanted to be the best on PlayStation and whatever, and he was so mad when he wasn't, like succeeding in being the best, and like, like, I think he was particularly ambitious, but no way in the world this is coming only from the parents. This is also like I think this is the more we move into an age of media, and where he sees all these YouTube videos of, we always see the greatest, so our ambition is fueled, which will make us even greater things, but will also create a lot of more depressed and sick people, like at the same time, that. And I'm not talking about him now, but I'm just talking, because
it's natural, and also it's natural, and it's also a social construct. One of the things about peer pressure, they talk about peer pressure to do drugs, do a lot of things. Peer pressure also works for doing positive things too.
Yeah.
And people think of peer pressure as being a negative thing. So I think what you're talking about, as far as like having a society that there's no pressure, it may take, because there's memory in our bodies and our DNA. So it may take 1,000 years. If everybody stopped putting pressure on, there may be take 1,000 years for the necessary change. But if we shifted the incentives for and use peer pressure as a positive thing, or used like the example that I said, you could have a compassionate or a pure dictatorship.
Yeah.
That all the people are happy and everything. So we got to get rid of whatever's happening inside us that does that, because even the fact that a parent has the the opportunity to take food from a child or is providing food and shelter to a child, that puts so much pressure that you gotta follow the rules a little. And I don't know if that's a bad thing.
Yeah, if you put limits on it, I was thinking always, I was more on the side of, hippie parents kind of, where you give people more freedom. I've been, I think, also a little bit on that side. The only thing where I had pressure was the education. But I've read about it, and it's also about, if you put limits for children, as in rules, and that they like there's limits to their wants, that teaches them that they can't have everything, and they won't be disappointed once they leave the house, because in life they will quickly out there, when they're not at home anymore, realize that it's sometimes really hard to get what you want, and you have to cope with being in a state of not succeeding, or at least not quickly in succeeding in getting stuff, because life is hard to it's hard to achieve stuff. It takes time. And
here's the issue with this is most of the people that are teaching it, parents, teachers, they don't possess it.
What do you mean by possess?
They haven't mastered it. So they're teaching us shit that they haven't mastered.
As in example?
I'm gonna give you this example because it came to mind, but we made it into another example. So most security guards have a job and they're insecure. You have a lot of bouncers that are in the club and everything, and they're starting a lot of fights. The bouncers are starting a lot of fights. You go to the club, you're all excited at home. Especially I want to talk to women. I want to do that. I want to dance. I want to get out of there. And then all of a sudden you go to the bouncer checks your ID and he's like, I'm looking away, because he would be looking away. He just grabs your ID and he just looks at your ID, doesn't even look at you. And then all of a sudden, like a lot of wind comes out of your sails. You get a little drunk. You're all of a sudden channeling into your insecurities. And then all of a sudden you might have bumped into somebody that also is channeling into their insecurities. And then all of a sudden the security guard comes over and you guys are probably, he's like, hey, you guys just calm down. You could probably say that. But he comes over there and he just shoves you more. And then there's just it's just projecting. So, but what you do is you're giving that guy job stability. You're having a lawyer. A lawyer just wants you to keep on having problems. A business attorney wants to keep on having problems. They don't want you to resolve shit.
Of course not. Yeah.
There's not many.
Depending on who it is. Yeah, but yeah.
There's a lot of these nonprofits that are there to cure cancer or there to cure a lot of different things. They don't want to resolve these things.
The problem.
Then they won't have anything to do. That's their belief. There'll always be something for them to do.
Mm-hmm.
But
this is only of the financial system,
yeah. So it's
the reward system would be organized differently, then they would solve stuff, yeah.
And I think that's important. I think if we became enlightened enough to change the incentives and the reward system, I don't think we would have to change as much.
I really believe in the idea of just putting all the money into land, and all the rest is voluntary. I believe that could work, because if you have the ground, then you have the possibility to develop your dream. If you have space, you just need space. You just need space, right? If you have space, you can move. And if you have guaranteed space, if that space cannot be taken away from you, it's never 100% guaranteed, you know what I mean? But I think that's that goes hand in hand with the idea I have with the public space app. But I already talked about it. I see it with the places in Berlin.
Have you ever heard of the concept in Japan, how people have a job for life?
Well, I know that they stay at the companies for life, yeah, but I didn't know they had that guaranteed job.
Yeah, it was a guaranteed job for life.